السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته مجددا إلى درس جديد من دروس اللغة الإنجليزية. هذه اليوم بحول الله سأحاول أن أتطرق إلى درس جديد يخص الجذع المشترك طبيعة الحال أدبي والعلمي، وهذا الدرس كما يظهر أمامكم هو asking for and given advice. بطبيعة الحال عندنا هنا مجموعة من العبارات التي نستعملها في أن تسأل أحدهم أن يعطيك أو يقدم لك نصيحة، وأن تقدم أنت نصيحة لشخص ما. Concerning the expressions we can use to deal with this task, which means to ask for and give advice, we have too many different expressions. Let me firstly try to move to asking for advice, and we have got many different expressions. The first one is I've got a bad toothache, what do you suggest? في هذه الحالة I have got a bad toothache, which means هذا الشخص يعاني من ألم الأسنان، والعبارة التي يسأل فيها عن نصيحة هي what do you suggest? Number two, what do you advise me to do? العبارة هي what do you advise, which means it's advising someone. So we say what do you advise me to do in order to speak English, for instance. What do you advise me to do to stop, for instance, smoking? العبارة رقم ثلاثة what should I do? What should I do? Next, what ought I to do? العبارة هنا هي مود الفيرب، في الأول مود الفيرب should، والثانية مود الفيرب ought to، ولكن طرحنا السؤال هنا فأصبحت العبارة على هذا الشكل should I do، والعبارة الثانية ought I to do. Next, what's your advice? ما هي نصيحتك؟ If you were me, what would you do? What would you do? هذه العبارات كما قلت تخص asking for advice. الآن تقديم النصيحة giving advice. Expression number one, if I were you, I would go to the dentist. Number two, why don't you go to the dentist? Number three, you'd better brush your teeth regularly. 4. You ought to or you should avoid eating sweets. If you take my advice, you'll go to the dentist. All these responses concern the idea of I have got a bad toothache. What do you suggest? It might be a good idea to brush your teeth on a regular basis. Next one, I advise you to brush your teeth on a regular basis. And the last one is, have you thought about seeing a dentist? That's good. Now, we're talking about two things, asking for and giving advice. Now let me move to the third type of things we should tackle in this lesson, which is declining to give advice. ترفض إعطاء نصيحة. To decline. Decline هي يرفض. Le verb to decline. I don't know what to advise. I'm afraid. I wish I could suggest something, but I can't. I wish I could help. The last one, I'm afraid I can't really help you. Now we have another title here, things to remember about asking for and giving advice. الأمور التي يجب أن نركز عليها عند السؤال أو إعطائنا للنصيحة. أول شيء أمامكم يظهر the verb to advise. advise is a verb. advise بإس وليس السي، لأن السي عبارة عن اسم نصيحة، وأدفايز بإس هي ينصح. Example: I advise you to learn English. You'll undoubtedly need it in your higher studies. كما قلت، رقم الثاني أو ثانيا عندنا advice with C، هي عبارة عن اسم اللي هي النصيحة، نصيحة. Example: My father gave me this piece of advice when I was young. Never give up. رقم ثلاثة ought to has nearly the same meaning as should، اللي هي يجب، هي يجب. ought to أو should المعنى الذي يقدمانه هو يجب. The only difference is that ought to refers to a moral or external obligation, but should is more of an advice. I give you an example here. With each word. So the first expression or the first modal verb here, ought to, we say you ought to stop smoking. Number two, you should stop smoking. هنا أريد أن أشير إلى شيء مهم. عند استعمال modal verbs مثل ought to ولا should، يجب أن يكون الفعل، أن يكون هذا المودل verb متبوع the verb بفعل الانفينيتيف. عندنا هنا مثلا should متبوعة بstop. لا يجب أن نكتب أي كلمة بين should و stop. ربما يسأل البعض لماذا ought to؟ أقول لكم بأن ought to هكذا وضعت في اللغة الإنجليزية بهذا الشكل ought to، وتكون متبوعة بطبيعة الحال بفعل يعني في صيغته الأصلية. عندنا هنا ought to stop، وفي رقم 2 عندنا should stop. رقم 4 you'd better is the short form of you had better. Okay, هذه الصيغة المختصرة ل had better. We say you'd better is a short form of you had better. Like, you know, maybe you can say you'd better is a short form and you had better is the full form. Example: you'd better see a doctor equals you had better see a doctor. Now let's move to the last activity in this lesson, which is study the dialogue. We have a conversation between the student and the teacher here. Student, I'm terrible at English and I think I should do something about it. What do you advise me to do? The teacher: I think you should try this website. It's a fantastic website for beginners. Student: I've heard about it. But what do you think I should start with? The teacher: You'd better start with the lessons, then try the exercises. إذا مجمل الدرس هذا مجمل الدرس بطبيعة الحال. أتمنى أن يكون الدرس واضح بما فيه الكفاية للفهم. أتمنى لكم حظا موفقا. And please do not forget to jot any questions or any comments. Thank you very much.